2026. We will be doing a masculine, feminine, non-binary energy update today. We are going to be starting right now with Headspace of masculine. We are going to be utilizing the Smith-Waite Centennial deck. Can I get 3 cards to clarify? Oh, we got 4 cards. All right, there's a lot going on there. We're going to get to it. 4 cards. We've got, first and foremost, 10 of Swords in its upright. Emperor card in its upright. 8 of Wands in its reversal. And the Magician card in its upright. Let's talk a little bit about this energy right now. So I feel like what we're identifying here, and we got to talk about the fact that there are additional cards that came out. And I'm feeling a lot of the approximation that's coming through right now in the association of the Emperor with the 8 of Wands in its reversal. And it's speaking to us a lot about the understanding of what it means to be energetically, I keep on hearing the same, protected versus protective, protected versus protective, right? Because the modality by which we energetically work to heal ourselves is the space by which, the context by which we work to effectively identify and articulate the energy that feels supportive, right? It's the modality that we bring to situations that allow us to effectively identify that the gift that we give to each other is the protectiveness that we hold each other towards. And so I see that there's a lot of this masculine energy that is working through the capacity or the modality of navigating the space of the emotionality of the egoic self. And this is all we can expect. Like these cards here are a perfect encapsulation of what we see that is occurring with a Jupiter retrograding in Cancer energy, right? And I'm going to bring you back to the understanding and the study. Like we can learn a lot about a healthy ego by studying the crab, right? The modality by which we recognize and identify. And this is why I love the work that we can do on the ego when we're going through Cancerian lessons, because Cancerian lesson is not to get rid of the ego entirely. There's no modality by which we can sweep the ego away, right? If there's no modality by which we can sweep the ego away, because here's the thing about the ego, it clings. You get rid of it, there's another one underneath it. And it's supposed to be there, right? It's the protective mechanism of the soul, right? And when we think about it like that, right? When we think about the idea that when you think of the soul as a nucleus, right? And then you think of the ego as the protective shell, right? The shell that effectively protects the inner self, then it's not about getting rid of it entirely, but it's understanding that having one that one is energetically proud of. And how does one articulate upon an ego that one feels proud of? It reflects very much what's within it, right? Like it's streamlined. The streamlined ego is one that feels like it is a perfect fit to effectively hold or house what exists within it. So when we think of it like that, and what's beautiful about that is, and we can often identify the qualities and characteristics of a healthy ego, is something that is energetically streamlined to accommodate the thing within it, right? The transparency. Like, what is a transparent ego? It's an ego that doesn't have, right? The transparent ego doesn't have any external, like extra stuff on it, right? It's the space by which our energetic intentions are pure, and the purity of that intention that we bring towards things allows for the energetic beauty of ourself to be experienced and expressed from all of us, all of those around the self, but at the same time being energetically protective, being able to act as shield, right? Being able to act as shield when necessary, right? When necessary. So we see that that's a lot of the work that is being articulated and identified in relationality and in proportionality to what we see that the work of the masculine is doing right now. And I keep on getting that for a lot of that energy working through, and this is what's so hard about that journey, right? What is the first thing you'll encounter when you're working to heal your egoic self? The past self, potentially, right? the past self that was operating more from the space of the ego. And so that's often, and so this is what we talk about. And that's why there's been a lot of that context that's been coming through in relationality to understanding the true nature of forgiveness, right? And this is why we talk about forgiveness isn't about letting go of things, right? Letting go of things is lenience. Forgiveness is being able to effectively understand what it is that we're working to do, right? That's the four, like the ability to look upon something, to identify what it is that we want to do in a better way, and then applying that force of intention forward for to give the opportunity to the future, give of doing something energetically better. So I keep on seeing that that's a lot of the energy of masculine working through the pathwork of saying, in order to be able to be my best self, I have to start working to learn to forgive the past person that thought that they knew everything, because that's literally the context of inner child healing. It's not easy. And even in the modality, and that's why we understand that that doesn't mean letting things go, right? That is allowing the context of taking energetic responsibility for that energetic person. That's why we call it that's why we call it inner child healing, because when you take responsibility for that person that you were before you realize that you didn't know everything, then you become the energetic parent in the future for the past version of self. This brings us to the feminine energy. And for feminine right now, we're going to be utilizing the Aquarian Tarot, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what one feels most aligned to. 3 cards to clarify, please. We've got here the 8 of Pentacles in its upright. We've got the Star card in its upright. And we also have here the Temperance card. The Emperor's card in its reversal. So let's talk a little bit about what we're effectively seeing here, because this is a lot of the feminine energy working through the context of actually understanding what forgiveness means. And I keep on hearing this is feminine energy learning the difference between leniency and forgiveness, right? Because this is potentially the understanding that when we come into the context of confusing forgiveness for leniency, it's the modality by which we understand we are not in the job. That there's often those who say that they want you to forgive, but what they're really asking you to do is let go. And this is why forgiving and letting go are not the same thing. There's no context by which forgiveness is letting go of things. Forgiveness is a two-handed act. And the reason that we see forgiveness as a two-handed act, that's why there's 2 different words in the description of the word forgiveness, right? The modality by which one is able to be energetically accountable for something is the context by which they can put a different energy into it going forward. So the modality by which we understand and recognize that forgiveness is a 2-part system, right? It requires the effort and energy of another to be able to apply that force of intention towards things in order to facilitate the space by which they desire to do something better, right? This is a lot of the feminine energy that is recognizing that our empathy often can cloud the intentions of others, right? And this is why we work to heal, right? This is what we talk about as it relates to being overly, and I know that this is going to sound a little bit triggering, but the space by which we identify the failure point in being overly empathic, right? The modality by which we understand the energetic context by which another person desires to change. But this is why we understand desire is not enough, right? You can spend your whole life desiring to do something, but never energetically do it. The space by which we apply our desire towards what it is that we're trying to do becomes the energetic fire of the self, right? It's the desire that is made energetically manifest in the space by which we move towards it. And so that's a lot of the energy that is building into, and I keep on getting this. This is a lot of feminine energy that is getting over the space of them moving with intention and another person trying to articulate that they're being energetically pushy, right? Because a lot of this, I keep on hearing, pushing in the best way possible is literally the sound of progress. So the modality by which we are effectively energetically invested in our progress, right? The modality by which we articulate it, it's not it's not selfish if it's reciprocal. If the amount that we're energetically pushing upon something is something that we would eagerly give another, then there's nothing about it that's energetically selfish. So I feel like there's a lot of the energy of the feminine that's healing from this. I keep wondering, healing from another's false perception of what they aspire feminine to be, which is the modality of expecting that the perfect form of feminine is someone who is I keep wondering, someone who is forgetful of the past and incredibly forgiving in the present is somebody who doesn't have any context of self at all, right? That is the song of self erasure. And this is the feminine that is potentially looking towards others' ideals of what feminine energy is and saying, are you looking for an ideal feminine that is forgetful and forgiving? Because that's a non entity. Like that is literally the space by which you're idealing that your perfect form of feminine is a non-entity. The modality by which you say, yes, I just want a feminine that is absolutely forgetful, that constantly is in the space of perpetually letting go of the past while also being in the space of allowing for energetically everything. That is literally the feminine saying, you don't want a real person. That is not a real person because you're literally looking for the space by which it's just the non-entity. And so that's a lot of the feminine that is articulating their energetic hostility of moving towards situations by which the more that they felt that they were their self, the less they felt they energetically fit in, and the recognition of the feminine forgiving themselves for not fitting into spaces that were demanding or requiring that they maintain the modality of being an energetic non-entity, right? So this is a lot of the feminine that's working into that. And this is why we talk about our standards are so necessary. Your standards will keep you out of rooms you should never be in the first place. Your standards will keep you out of rooms you should never be in the first place. Because as long as your standards are not trauma in disguise, as long as your standards are not your trauma decorating themselves as a standard, and the way that you can usually identify and articulate and tell that is the modality by which you can explain that one has a standard. We see that for a lot of the energy, having those conversations, potentially building into healthy relationship that loves someone just the way that they are, right? Allows someone to become the person that they aspire to be. And that's the energy that works through. And this is why we talk about the first step of healthy healing is love of the self. Because as soon as you start to love yourself, then you're able to see yourself and you can start to recognize what is something that you yourself need to work upon, right? What's a you problem? Because we all got those, right? We've all got those you problems. We've all got them. We've all got them. And if you don't think you have one, then you are the energetic problem. Okay, I will say this. I will say this, and I mean this from the bottom of my heart. We all have our energetic problems. If you don't think that you have your energetic problems, then I'm afraid to tell you, I hate to tell you, then you are the energetic problem. Okay. But the modality by which we recognize what an inside problem is, yes, that's something I need to work on. I'm not great at that. Yep, that's a me thing. Versus an outside is how we're able to energetically facilitate upon it. Now, continuing, moving towards non-binary energy, we're going to be utilizing the Tarot of the Divine for the non-binary headspace right now. 3 cards, please. We've got here the 5 of Swords in its upright. We've got the 9 of Cups in its upright. And we have the 4 of Wands in its upright. This is nice. This is nice. This is raise the roof energy right here. Because I want to describe, there's something about this. There's something about this that I'm seeing with non-binary energy, which is understanding the power of our joy. Right? Why do we talk about the power of our joy? Because the power of our joy is the power of possibility. The modality and the experience by which we bring joy into things is the space by which that is its own gift, right? And I keep on seeing there's something about that energy, and I want to describe it here. That energy doing the work in terms of and this is why we talk about the gift, and it feels very leonine. It feels very Leo. I don't know if what's in Leo right now. I don't think there's anything in Leo. I have to investigate it because it does feel very Leo. But the modality by which we understand that our energetic positivity is not, I keep hearing our positivity isn't delusional, right? because the space by which we understand, the ferocity by which we go towards joy, speaks towards the fact that we understand that joy is our birthright, right? Joy is our birthright. And why do we say joy is our birthright? Because the modality by which we and ultimately, and I need to point this out, every true manifestation, that is actually what it is. That is the core of every true manifestation. Joy is my birthright. Because the modality by which we move towards that joy, so long as, right? So long as our joy doesn't hurt another person's joy, right? And this is how we can usually articulate the healthy manifestation. Our joy is generous, and our joy is rampant. Because when our joy is generous and our joy is rampant, then it's the articulation of understanding that our joy does not hurt anyone unless they themselves are internally hurting. And the modality by which, and this is why we talk through the space of trying to heal from our misery, right? Because it often creates those modalities or experiences by which we feel a lot of that energy, right? We feel a lot of that force of intention that often feels like the context of trying to move us away from our joy. But the modality by which we seek joy, right, is, I keep on hearing, it's not the experience. It's not the experience of working towards, and I need to point this out. It's not the experience that is indulgent, right? It's not the experience that talks towards the feeling of indulgence. That is something, and what do we identify? Indulgence is something that only the self can energetically indulge upon, right? The modality by which we work towards something that is only indulgent toward the self, that is selfish. But the modality by which you will, and I keep on hearing, like, this is why I keep on hearing the same message when I'm reading into this energy, which is pay attention when somebody says that another person is being selfish. Because the modality by which you look, that even in the statement of another person articulating selfishness, is the modality by which they say there is a construct of them that I demand something from. And that's not to say that we don't have energetic responsibilities, right? The modality by which, and this is why knowing the self helps us in the journey of understanding that as you move towards your joy, there are those who will articulate that you're selfish. But it's not enough to be able to articulate selfishness, because often the energy that articulates selfishness is energetically projecting, because the modality by which one observes a construct, by which you have a construct of another person and you're energetically demanding towards them, requires the sense of self-assessment. Being able to understand if it's energetically proportional into a space of generosity, or if you're looking at another person as a means to an end. So that's why we see that for a lot of the energy right now, that's like the work that I see in relationality to holding those energetic boundaries. Like, I've got a lot of that energy, and that's why I told you it feels like a lot of that raise the roof energy, because it's the energy that just understands, and in the context of not of minding their own business, right? They'll literally be in the space by which they're minding their own business, and another person will articulate that they're being energetically selfish because they don't feel that the force of self is directed towards them. So that's why I keep on getting that for a lot of that energy, working through that capacity is why I keep wondering is why like the energy works so carefully on navigating those energetic boundaries, because it's the modalities or the experiences by which they've been hurt before by energy that was being selfish towards them, that tried to project that they were being the energetically selfish one. Now, continuing to get clarification, moving back towards masculine. Can I get 3 cards for masculine's heart space? And for the masculine heart space right now, we are going to be utilizing the Aquarian Tarot. 3 cards, please. 1, 2, 3. Thank you. We've got here the Knight of Wands in its upright. We've got here the Knight of Cups in its upright. Double Knight energy right now in the heart space of masculine. Bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what one feels most aligned to. And the 4 of Swords in its upright. Do you see this? Do you see this past? This is Aries work. This is the work that says nothing is harder than forgiving myself for the person I used to be when I thought that there was nothing else I needed to learn. Look at them facing off. Look at this energy facing off towards itself, right? Like nothing is harder than forgiving myself for the person I thought I was when I thought the universe was against me. Look at that. Never have I had to battle harder than healing from the person that I was when I thought that the universe was battling against me. Because this is often the context by which we work to release our trauma, right? The context by which we're able to navigate or articulate upon the understanding of how we energetically feel. When we understand how we feel, we begin to heal. And it's the hardest thing to do because often the first person we have to confront is the person who refused to navigate those feelings. That's why there's nothing more dangerous in this world than disassociation, right? That often the ability to learn how to disassociate is the most harmful thing because I need to point out everything that you have is a gift. Every single thing that you arrive here with is a gift. Why would you try to learn to shut something off? It's not about shutting things off. It's about feeling more. It's being able to find, and when you feel more, you find the strength to navigate the feelings. That's what Stoicism is. Stoicism has never been about shutting anything off. There's no strength in learning how to flick a light switch. There's no strength in learning how to flick a light switch. The ability of finding the capacity to just turn one's emotions off is not a power. It is a detriment. And so I keep on seeing that for a lot of the energy that learned that too quickly, right? Potentially even energy that went through the false construct of feeling like one had to learn to do that in order to be masculine. It's understanding the cruelty of creating a journey, like of navigating to another person and saying, if you learn how to turn that off real quick, then you'll finally ascend into masculinity. But it doesn't make you stronger. It makes you weaker. It makes you vulnerable to your feelings. There's no strength in learning how to turn something off because that means you're energetically avoiding something, especially when you understand that the best relationship you'll ever experience will make you feel things you've never felt before. So imagine the construct by which you say to masculine energy, hey, if you want to be masculine, learn to turn that off, right? And then you go through relationship after relationship, and every time you move towards the thing that's for you, you basically what happens? You short circuit, right? You short circuit. You're going to short circuit because you've learned, somebody told you that in order to facilitate masculinity, you have to learn how to turn something off. And then you move closer and closer to the thing that's for you and the unavoidable unknown feelings that arrive towards it. It's a system that is set to energetically break the self. It doesn't create the space by which you ever move towards what is your bliss. You move towards what feels energetically comfortable. But if you learned how to disassociate, that is not the relationship that creates the feelings in you. That's a relationship that creates a false sense of comfortability. So the gift that we're able to find in relationality to facing our feelings fortifies us for the partnership that can make us feel all of the things, right? Because it's the modality and the experience of understanding. A healthy relationship is not one that facilitates or promotes a feeling of numbness. It's the energy that allows you to feel the full expanse of all of the parts of the self. And so I keep on seeing that for a lot of the energy doing that work, it starts with the forgiveness of the self. This is why we talk about forgiveness is key, and we understand that forgiveness is not forgetting. Forgiveness is being able to understand what one is trying to do better. So I see a lot of the masculine energy doing that work, and it's the hardest thing to do, but it's also the energy that we bring towards things because everything starts with us being able to find the beauty in our vulnerability. Now, this brings us to a lot of the feminine energy. Bearing in mind, this is not based on gender. Moving towards feminine energy, we are going to be utilizing the Smith-Waite Centennial deck for the feminine heart space. 3 cards, please. 1, 2, 3. We've got here 3 of Pentacles in its reversal. 9 of Wands in its upright. And we also have here the High Priestess in its reversal. Now, this is really intriguing. If you are a tarot nerd, make sure that you head over to our stack today to be able to see the photo of today's spread. We got some very interesting energy here in the feminine heart space with a queen. We got an Empress in its reversal. We got some very big cards in the feminine energy right now. We've got the Star in the center, and we've got the High Priestess in its reversal with the Empress in its reversal. This is a continuation of understanding the fallacy of comparison. Comparison will keep you from everything. When you're busy, while you're busy comparing yourself to another, you're losing your exquisite, right? It should never, the modality by which, and you have to understand, and this is why I keep on getting a lot of the feminine energy, is finding the place to energetically articulate upon their feelings about something. Because we just talked about the fact, the observation, and this is why our standards are healthy, because our standards help us see what another person is idealizing versus what is energetically for us. And look, it is simply the understanding of feminine, and feminine understands this. What will unhealed energy seek in a relationship? A non-entity, right? Unhealed energy will seek a non-entity in relationship. And what does that mean? Someone that, again, is forgetful and has no energetic standards, right? That is often that is literally the context, because when we just talked about the fact that the unhealed energy works towards numbness, right? Not wanting to feel anything, right? And the context by which another person is seeking an ideal, when somebody's in the context of not wanting to feel anything, when they haven't done the work of healing, what is their ideal counterpart? Somebody who's forgetful, right? Doesn't have any space by which they navigate holding forgiveness, right? Having leniency instead of forgiveness, not seeing the context of change. So nothing by which one is able to ascend or grow, with the context of, again, navigating, not having any sense of boundaries or not having any energetic standards. So that modality of putting that is literally the grounds of a numb relationship, right? The narcotic numb relationship by which another person says, I am idealizing, right? I am looking for a non-entity, no feelings, no vision, no memory, right? Because that allows the context by which another person says, I can do energetic, like the modality by which another person articulates upon the fact that the highest aspiration in their counterpart is nothing. Literally, this is how the feminine has to recognize that they have literally encountered energy that says my ideal counterpart is nothing. It's the void. It's a void. That is someone in love with the void, being like, I would like somebody who just doesn't really doesn't push back against things, doesn't really have an opinion about things, just goes like this a lot. I'm like, that you don't want a relationship, you want an echo chamber, right? The modal, and this is the energy, this is feminine energy, just accepting that, right? That is feminine energy accepting that unhealed energy will articulate that they're not looking for a relationship, they're looking for an echo chamber. And often in the modality, and this is why our standards are so energetically important, because the modality by which you bring your standards to things helps you recognize whether someone is healed or unhealed, whether they're actually looking for a person, a person with standards and thoughts in the brain and things that happen, versus saying, I am looking for an echo chamber. Are you my echo chamber? Are you going to be an echo chamber for me? Different things. And so this is the feminine that says, look at this, bless this mess of standards. Bless this mess of standards, because this mess of standards helps to identify who is actually looking for a relationship versus someone looking for an echo chamber, right? So there we go. It's right there for feminine. And so it's a feminine that says, and they have a right, and this is a feminine saying, having a right to be upset when they encounter energy that's not looking for a relationship. They're looking for an echo chamber. Now, continuing to get clarification, moving towards the non-binary energy. 3 cards, please. What do we got here? We're going to be utilizing the, we're going to be, where to go? We are going to be utilizing the, we're also going to be, we're going to be utilizing right now the Aquarian Tarot for the heart space of non-binary. 3 cards, please. And we have here, we've got the 7 of Pentacles in its upright. We've got here the Page of Pentacles in its upright. And we've got here the Fool card in its upright. So what are we effectively seeing that's coming through here for the non-binary energy? For a lot of this energy, and I will point out one of the things that we're seeing right now is a lot of the non-binary energy, they're utilizing the same cards right now as the masculine heart space. Bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what one feels most aligned to. For a lot of the energy, and I want to kind of identify, like, there's something important. There's something interesting that I'm seeing that's happening in non-binary energy right now in relationality to working towards, I keep on hearing, like, this is the energy that works towards um understanding. I keep on hearing, like, understanding archetypes or working into the context of recognizing or identifying. And I keep on hearing this, the context by which we bring to a certain situation or circumstance is the modality by which we understand and we navigate the force of our own energetic presence, is what I keep on hearing. And I just keep on hearing the same message that's coming through for a lot of that energy. And I keep on seeing, like, this modality, like, when you think about things from this perspective, it's something that allows for a lot of healing to come through. And it is, my presence is a present. My presence is a present. Now, this is really important because this helps you come into the space of being centered in self. Now, why do we say, and this is why, because it's a koan. So my presence is a present is also the understanding that the space, all we have is this energetic moment, right? All we have is the force of intention in relationality to what it is that we do. Our presence is a fixed point. Our presence is a fixed point. And that's why we say our presence is a present, because when we say our presence is a present, it is the understanding that our presence is a fixed point, that in all the things that we're energetically doing, there are modalities or experiences by which we can effectively pinpoint the amplification of our own energetic journey, right? And this is what's hard for a lot of that energy, because I almost see that this is the energy that often works through the overwhelm or the energetic demand that is often experienced in the context of the world that's around us. And what happens, right? What happens, like, as you move towards your journey, then it feels like the more you move deeper into your journey, the more demanding the present becomes. Like, that's the irony of it. If you're doing it well, the present becomes more demanding. Like, if you're doing it well, the present becomes more demanding. But the modality by which you understand and you navigate the energetic demand of the present is fortified with the energetic shield of my presence is a present, which is the modality by which we understand that our presence is never demanded. And often the modality by which another person demands our presence tells us everything we need to know in the proportionality of how they are respective towards it. So that modality or that experience by which we navigate that, like that, I just keep on hearing this moving through the heart space of the non-binary. My presence is a present because it's the understanding that all we have is this energetic moment and it's finite, and we do everything that we energetically can with it, and we don't get hard on each other in relationality to not, and often energy that does not respect that is why they don't get a piece of it, is what I keep on hearing. So I told you, it's a heavy work that we see in relationality to hard boundaries. Now, continuing, moving through back towards masculine, moving through the unconscious space. Can I get 3 cards right now for the masculine? And we are going to be utilizing right now the Tarot of the Divine for the unconscious space of the masculine. 3 cards, please. 1, 2, 3. We've got here the Fool card, so we've got double Fool energy. So this is this is moving back towards the fact that we see a lot of connection right now between non-binary and masculine energy right now. We've got the Hierophant, heavy archetypes right now. Yep, and we've got the Four of Coins. In the 10 of Coins, correction. It's interesting that I said 4 of Coins, but it actually ended up to be 10 of Coins, because it's working, and I want to stress this too. The understanding of recognizing and identifying. And this is often what happens in the realm of understanding. And this is what's really important I feel like there's something really important that we see that's happening right now. for masculine energy. Often, and it's very nuanced because it's saying, and again, but not based on gender, but what one feels most aligned to. Often the modalities by which we struggle become fond memories, is what I keep on hearing. The modality by which we feel like we struggle becomes fond memories, because it's the understanding that the brain is really, really bad at storing pain. And this is why we can't get too nostalgic on things. And often those who are too nostalgic are operating in a state of delusion, right? Because when we don't understand the nature of our brains, right? Like what's in here? Our brains are absolutely miserable. They are absolutely, the first thing we need to recognize, our brains are so bad at storing pain. It is unbelievable the level of badness that our brain has in storing pain. I want you to think right now about your worst moment, your absolute worst moment. It's hard to recall the end. The further you get from it, the harder it is to recall the pain there. It's stored, and this is the thing about pain you have to understand. It carves a groove, but the modality by which it carves is often the space by which it does not hold on to how energetically painful something was. And so when we understand that that is the energetic nature of pain, right? That it shapes us. But then often the fact is it's hard to effectively maintain the pain that we experienced. Then it often can help us understand that we clear nostalgia with a dose of reality, returning back to something, right? Returning back to something is often the modality or the experience by which we energetically determine or speak towards the ability to effectively understand, right? To be present is helping us to heal from the past, because it's not a space by which we energetically let something go. It's not the space by which we throw something away. It's the modality or the experience by which we allow for that energetic point of wisdom to come through. And so there's so much that we energetically see here. And this is often what's difficult, because this is why sometimes energy gets addicted to their source of pain. Because when you don't understand that pain carves grooves, and then you'll find yourself energetically returning to traumas again and again and again, failing to recognize that even in the modality by which one is doing so is the determination point of the energetic pain, right? It's not working through and this is what we talk about in relationality to being able to understand our feelings. Because when you're going through an energetic complication point, right? And this is what happens. The initial pain that one creates in telling someone to energetically disassociate if they want to maintain the space of being in a masculine state, right? The only way to be in a masculine space is if you don't energetically feel something. The best thing you will ever find will have you feeling everything. And then in the modality by which you experience it, you go through a trauma moment because you've been told that in order to facilitate being energetically masculine, you can't feel anything, but you're moving towards something that is for you, that makes you feel everything, right? You short circuit yourself. And the modality by which you have to energetically run away is the modality by which you feel like you need to recover. When we're in a healthy space, we don't need to recover from our emotions. We move towards the ocean. We understand the volatility of it. And this is why we don't build into experiences by which prioritizing disassociation is the most dangerous thing you could potentially do, because it's the understanding that the way you get stronger through something is by experiencing it, by feeling it in order to heal it. And so that's why I keep on seeing that for a lot of the energy, feeling the frustration on energy that was prioritizing having someone knuckle through something, right? The modality by which, and this is why it's so painful when another person, like trauma, often likes to energetically diminish our pain, right? We see here that is the modality by which we understand that our pain protects us. Because when we care about each other, we are conscientious of the feelings that we bring out within one another. And that doesn't mean that we're energetically responsible for them, right? It doesn't mean that we're energetically responsible for each other's emotions. We are never responsible for the emotions that we bring forth in each other. We are responsible to understand why we feel the way we do. Because being able to understand why we feel the way we do allows us room for more feelings. It allows us room for more feelings. It doesn't allow you to be in a context by which you say, I'm living a life that's nice because I don't have to feel anything. It's really pleasant. My manifestation has been reached. I got this nice life. I don't feel anything. It's great. Right? I mean, you can have that if you want it. Sounds like fun, I guess, but it's a modality by which it often is working through the ability of being able to sort through our emotions that allow us to have more feelings. And so that is what we talk about with energetic expansion, right? Not feeling like we're giving the emotions to another to deal with, right? Feeling our feelings, feeling energetically responsible in these feelings and allowing that expansion to effectively help us. And even as you expand, you will feel more and more energetically exposed. Even as you expand, you will feel more and more energetically exposed. It's the continuation of that journey that creates that sense of understanding. It's creating that continual arrival point. But this is why we embrace the exposure point in relationality to our feelings, because as we do, so too do we heal. Continuing back towards feminine energy, bearing in mind this is not based on gender, but what one feels most aligned to. 3 cards, please. Unconscious of feminine energy. We're going to be utilizing again, we're going to be utilizing the tarot of the divine for the feminine unconscious. 3 cards, please. 2, 3. Oh, we got a transverse there, so we're going to hold on to that. We've got the 3 of Cups in its reversal. We have the Emperor card in its transverse, and this is very important because now we're seeing connection point between masculine and feminine energy. Bearing in mind, this is not based on gender, but what one feels most aligned to, and the Devil card. So this is some intense energy right now in the unconscious of the feminine. And it's working through, I keep on hearing, it is feminine healing. This is feminine going through the healing of the understanding, like feminine just recognizing and going through the grief of understanding that unhealed energy seeks non-entity, right? It's going through the grief of understanding that unhealed energy prefers to seek energetic non-entity in relationality to connection. And what do we mean by non-entity? Non-entity is the identification point by which you see somebody articulating the aspirations that they ideally desire to have in a connection. And the modality by which they don't, I keep wondering, the modality by which they articulate not upon what someone feels, right? The things, the space by which another person doesn't describe the standards that they're seeking in another, but I keep on hearing somebody in the modality of describing the qualities is what I keep on hearing. The dangers of hearing someone articulate the qualities of what they're seeking in an energetic counterpart that articulate upon the fact that they're not really seeking someone, right? Someone who says that they prioritize agreeableness in all things, right? Looking for someone that is agreeable in all things, like, yes, a lot of that energy, right? Or somebody, or someone who is always facilitating upon what they energetically desire. This would also be someone who's a non-entity, right? They're not talking about the person that they aspire for. They're looking for things that feel like they just serve the self, right? The modality of someone saying, I'm not looking for a person. I'm looking for someone that serves the energetic needs of the self, right? And so that's why we see that for a lot of the energy working through that, it's understanding that a healthy relationship is built by, I keep wondering, a healthy relationship is built with people. And this is why we say a healthy relationship is built with people, because when we are healthy, we are deeply peopled. And the reason that we're deeply peopled is that we know who we are, right? We know who we are. We have a clear understanding of who we are, and being deep in your people, right? Being deep in the sense of understanding the self, understanding the quality of self will get ready to be rejected by someone who's looking for something that is purely appealing, right? Get ready to feel energetically rejected by somebody who says, oh, well, that's not very, and again, I keep hearing this word, I keep on hearing this quality, I keep on hearing being thrown in the feminine unconscious, ladylike, which is, again, ladylike often being associated to qualities and characteristics that would be described towards a non-entity, right? Better, right? Seen and not heard, not necessarily having a thought, right? Just being in the space by which one is in the navigation point of effectively just orbiting, right? Just orbiting another rather than being in the space of a healthy connection. And so that's why I see that this is the feminine that's saying to themselves, bless, like, look, bless these messy standards, right? Bless these messy standards that often feel like they prevent the self from things, because healthy standards will prevent you from energy that's seeking non-entity, right? Healthy standards will protect you from energy seeking non-entity, which is the modality or experience by which another person says that they aspire not for a true energetic person, but for something that feels like it's just complicit in their own ability to energetically exist. So that's why I keep on hearing that for a lot of the energy in that modality, that is the energy that is working through the heavy work, right? And this is the heavy work that we do when we have standards, making sure that our standards are not our trauma in disguise. This brings us to non-binary energy. Can I get 3 cards for non-binary, bottom of the under unconscious space? And we're going to be utilizing the Smith-Waite Centennial deck for the unconscious of the non-binary. 3. Oh, okay. We're going to use these cards. We've got the Page of Pentacles. So we've got double Page of Pentacles right now in non-binary headspace, unconscious. Justice card in its reversal. And the Ace of Swords in its reversal. I keep on hearing this energy say, my job is not to be gentle, right? But you would be surprised. And I keep on hearing something about them saying, nothing is more gentle than moving through this life from a place of vulnerability. And I keep on hearing them say, my job is not to be gentle, because the modality, and I keep on hearing, even in the space by which they say that, is vulnerable, is what I keep on hearing. Even in the space by which they say that is gentle, is what I keep on hearing. Because the modality by which I keep on hearing the energy say, my job is not to be gentle, is the understanding that the energetic passion that we bring to things is often I keep on hearing, it's often speaking towards how hard it is to remain gentle in the midst of difficulty, right? It's hard because it's often, I feel like this is the energy that works to bring gentle in everything, but they can't be gentle as they try to bring their gentleness into things, is what I keep on. It's the energy that's they're working through the paradoxical quality that when you're trying to be gentle, there's nothing gentle about it. That the ability to maintain and to continue to be gentle in a world that feels like it is hard towards us, that is the hardest thing to do. So I keep on hearing, my job is not to be gentle, is the energy that says the job is gentleness, but working towards gentleness in a way, but with, like, I keep on hearing, like, working to maintain gentleness in a world that does not prioritize gentleness is effectively the work that we have to do, that requires us not to be energetically gentle in relationality to things that do not feel like they effectively honor gentleness, right? Because when we think of gentleness as sanctuary, when we think about how hard it is to energetically maintain gentleness in a world like the world that we have, then when we see that gentleness, we put our full application towards what it is that is energetically important towards us, right? We allow that to be the context by which we feel energetically protective of it. So that's why I keep on seeing that for a lot of the energy working through that, navigating that vulnerability is the energetic priority. And it's a continuation of understanding the paradox of that work, right? The modality, but even as they're trying to take a gentle approach to preserving the quality of gentleness within them, they have to work even harder, right? Both in the relationships that surround them, but even in the space by which they themselves feel like they are seen and witnessed by counterpart. I keep on getting that that's a lot of the energy that articulates upon the navigation of understanding the force of intention that we can see in another, is how much they value that, because that tells you everything in relationality to the shape or the nature of the work that another person is doing to heal within the self, right? Not trying to eradicate gentleness, right? But creating a space by which gentleness can flourish and energetically thrive. bottom of the deck on these readings for moving back to masculine, utilizing the Smith-Waite Centennial deck, we've got double Four of Swords energy for a lot of the masculine right now. And this is not allowing, like, and I'll tell you right now, this type of energy, it's easy to despair, is what I keep on seeing, right? This type of energy can often create a lot of feelings of energetic despair within us. I want to point this out. I'm going to give you like a little bit of a reminder. We are going through Jupiter in Cancer. Jupiter in Cancer can make us feel very, very energetically vulnerable. Uranus in Taurus is literally the sound of it's not working, right? We're feeling vulnerable on things that feel like they're not working, extra vulnerable, right? Working also through the fact that that is magnified energy with the fact that Venus is stuck with Mercury behind it and Mars before it. We have to be gentle as we navigate what's not working, because the modality by which it sometimes, and I like to point this out, and this is why I keep on asking where Leo is right now. Sometimes the work isn't to go harder. Sometimes the work is to go softer. And when you truly understand that, then you're doing the work to understand the self, because that's the space by which you're working to prioritize that sense of care. And it starts within to be able to facilitate that without. For feminine energy right now, we'll be utilizing the Aquarian Tarot, bottom of the deck. There's that Temperance card. Patience. Where did it go? I need to point this out. Chiron is stationed direct, and it's in very close proximity to Eris, which is still in retrograde. And this is the energy by which old wounds can arise back up to the surface. And this is being able to understand, making sure that we're not projecting our patience to things. Now, what does it mean when we're projecting our patience? Projecting our patience is not healthy, because our patience is a gift, right? And so it's interesting because I hear in the non-binary energy, right? I keep on seeing that the non-binary energy is saying that patience needs to be accepted and received by the person it, because the modality by which we understand that helps us to heal from situations by which there's nothing worse, right? There's nothing worse than looking at a situation and saying, I'm being patient towards it, and being another person having no idea that they're experiencing that patience. That is often the sound of our own projection. So we recognize that when we're being responsible with our patience, we are clear to another what we're energetically expecting in the space that we're providing it. So making sure that we're doing that work, and and I keep on hearing, it's not selfish if it's reciprocal. It's not something that we do that feels like it's too much to do. But often, and this is the irony of it, when somebody is receiving our patience and then they articulate upon the fact that the solution to a situation is to be more energetically patient with them, this is often, I keep on hearing, pay attention to energy that asks for patience instead of energy that articulates upon progress, right? The modality by which we're effectively able to work through something there. Now, finally, moving towards non-binary energy, we've got here, and we'll be utilizing the Tarot of the Divine for the non-binary. We've got here the King of Coins. And that is a lot. I need to point this out. There's a lot. This is also, we've already got a lot of pentacle energy that is in the non-binary space. So we also have here a lot of this energy that we're identifying and recognizing in relationality to working through the context of being energetically patient with our own sense of progress. And this is often why we keep on seeing, don't get frustrated in relationality to where you're going. Whenever you're feeling frustrated on where you're going, look behind you, right? When you feel like you're not making any progress, don't look forward, look backward, right? I know how hard that is because I see a lot of this energy. Like, I feel like a lot of this energy is like ever forward. Like, no, I know that there, and I keep wondering, it's not nostalgic. That's not energetically sentimental. The modality or the experience by which one is able to energetically recognize how far you have come can often give you more clarity in relationality to having a reality check in terms of the expectations that you hold to yourself versus the energetic feeling of the fact that you don't feel like you're moving fast enough. So if you're feeling this weight right now, I'm going to say this, and I'm only saying it to the non-binary energy because, like, honestly, I feel like the masculine's trying to stop doing this. Non-binary needs to do it more. It's okay. It's okay to occasionally rest on your laurels. Is what I keep on hearing. It's okay. I know. It's okay to energetically rest on your laurels at time, particularly and especially with energy like this, because it can be really easy to feel like things are confusing or they're not energetically going anywhere. Make sure that and I keep arguing the way you can check and make sure that it's passing the vibe check is being able to see those energetic accomplishments and feel energetically stabilized in terms of understanding and recognizing the path work via your own personal direction. That is our daily collective read for today. I want to thank you guys so much for being here and experiencing it. Just a reminder, if you would like to book a private reading with me, it is a two-step process. You have to book the reading and you have to pay for the reading. Please make sure you do both if you'd like to have that reading. Most importantly, please remember that I will never, ever, 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 ever reach out to you for a private reading. I will never DM you. I will never PM you. I will never slide into your inbox and tell you that I have a very important message that only I can deliver. The only way you can book a reading with me is if you book one on my site, so I would encourage you to do it there. A couple of updates before we move into personal readings today. First and foremost, thank you to everyone who participated in our recent class on the judgment card. Our next class will be held on Thursday, January 15th at 6 p.m. PST, 9 p.m. Eastern. We will be continuing our studies into the tarot with a focus on the world card. If you would like to become part of that tarot class program, all you need to do is head on over to my stack and become a paid subscriber. Your paid subscription to my stack is your ticket of entry into our live classes each and every month. As a monthly subscriber, you will have access to over 9 hours worth of material in the Tarot Church Library Art Class Archive. It's not necessary to catch up. I'll be doing my best to give you an update on everything we've studied prior to beginning that class, but the material is there for you to receive as you're ready to receive it. You'll also have access to a one-on-one chat with me and the other students to ask any questions that you may have in relation to anything we've learned and studied thus far. And if you become a founding member, not only will you receive a discount on the full year's worth of classes, you'll also receive a complimentary you'll also have access to over 20 hours worth of material in the Tarot Church Library or Class Archive, and you'll also have access to a complimentary one-on-one mentorship class with me, where I will meet with you personally to assess where you are on your personal tarot journey and give you the best insights in terms of how to utilize those classes to the best of your advantage, moving towards your tarot goals going forward. One of the things I tried to do in these classes was make them accessible to the absolute novice tarot reader as well as the seasoned reader. There's definitely something there for everyone. Don't let your lack of experience or your robust experience prevent you from joining us in these classes. And even if you don't become a paid subscriber to my stack, I would encourage you to follow me there to stay up to date on any new offerings or services. I also post my mystic meditation articles there, which will let you know about the updates that we've been seeing energetically in the cards based on the lunation cycles. I just wrote one recently on this full moon that we just navigated. I also want to let you guys know that on top of my standard life path readings, I also would like to invite you to a very special retreat that I will be holding this August. I'd like to invite you to join me August 8th through 13th as we work to study and learn about the tarot in the place by which the tarot was first discovered. Please join me on a tour of Florence, Tuscany, and Rome, where we will be studying the tarot in the cradle by which the tarot was first discovered to understand the deeper impact on the locationality by which the tarot was able to grow and thrive. Everyone who attends that retreat will not only be receiving one-on-one classwork with me during the retreat, but you will also be entitled to a free mentorship class that will be happening before the retreat to be able to assess your own tarot journey.
And if you sign up now, you'll have $200 discount, but that is going away shortly. So make sure that you reserve your spot today. I also want to let you guys know that on top of my standard life path readings, I also offer mentorship classes. These are for any of my students seeking a more personalized educational experience with me. I take a very limited number of students for this reason, as those classes are focused on each individual's personal spiritual goals and journey work. Those classes can be purchased on an individual level, weekly or biweekly, as your schedule permits, so that you can stay more consistent on your personal journey. I'm also happy to offer for those who are seeking more consistent weekly tarot support, weekly tarot insight packages. That is a package of 4 30-minute readings, again, weekly or biweekly, as your schedule permits, so that you can stay more consistent on your journey. And for those who are, I'm also very happy to offer dream interpretation readings, which you can purchase per dream or as a series. If you purchase the series, I would encourage you to start to keep a dream journal, as we will meet weekly or biweekly with that journal and utilize the tarot to understand the key themes and messages coming towards you in the dream space. I want to thank you guys so much for being here today and sharing in these messages, and we will do this again tomorrow.